Geiss. I'm Patty Palafox, and we're in our third episode of Connecting with Patty Palafox. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Louisette Geiss, and she's going to share a very interesting and very moving story. The month of women internationally, and we celebrate women all around the world. What's so special about this interview is going to be how the time has changed for women and how much has happened through the world and the time between, the feminist movement and the women in the industry and trying to look for equality and many other things that still are a battle on a day-to-day basis in our, country and all around the world. So I'm here with my guest, which I like to introduce.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. So I already obviously say your name, but you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure, I'm Louisette Geiss. I now luckily work with you in real estate, but I first was in the entertainment industry, and I moved here just when I turned 21. I graduated college a year early because I knew that I wanted to be an actress and a singer and a writer. So of course, I grew up in Miami, and that's not exactly where dreams come true in the movie world. So I knew I had to move out here, and I did that, and I kind of hit the ground running. I used to take a million classes, and I studied incredibly hard, and I booked my second job, which is pretty rare in this town. So, but I really enjoyed my job and enjoyed the industry, but I didn't really like the people in it. As many people now know, it was saturated with lascivious behavior, to be honest, and it got old. And long story short, I had to eventually get out of the business and just really reinvent myself.
I can imagine that must have been hard. I mean, a lot of people pursue their dream, which is on the industry, and then they face that besides the competitiveness of the business itself, there is a lot, within the industry, a lot of unrevealed and unfold things that happen. That just now in our times, they just start coming into place, and it has taken a lot of pain, it has taken a lot of action, and it has taken a big movement, and unfortunately a lot of cases to come to the place we are today, where just the tip of the iceberg start becoming to be shown to the world. So this is where we get into, and obviously I want you to share the main story that happened to you and what made you change the industry and just kind of wanted to get over and past the horrible experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the life I ordered, meaning I didn't want to step up, and I'm the lead plaintiff against Harvey Weinstein in the civil class action. It went to the federal court, so it's not something I wanted to do, but it's something that I knew that I had to do. I've always really been saddened at the way the movie industry was working. I mean, again, I started when I was 21, and now I'm in my 40s, so it's been a long time. But I knew that this wasn't the way that we should treat women in particular, and men, quite frankly, because I now know a lot of men who are really harmed by, Harvey Weinstein, just for one example, but by many others. And it really was commonplace to treat people horribly, not just with sexual harassment, but just harassment in general. So, but when the article in the New Yorker and New York Times came out about Harvey Weinstein, it really was his response to that, which was, a few things, which was, he said, this is such a good story, I want to buy the movie rights, which was just such a flip, rude comment to all of us who had experienced something with him. And then he also said, come on guys, give me a second chance. It was those things that made me really want to come forward and to keep pushing this envelope, to make sure that he did receive some kind of conviction in the long run. Again, when I first came out, I had no idea there was that many women. I mean, I just had only my experience to share, and I thought that it was important for me to share it because, again, he was saying basically the women in those articles were lying. So initially I went to Gloria Allred. My husband really urged me, actually. So this is why I say it is a movement for both women and men, because, you know, if we don't band together, it's not going to change. But my husband stood by me, supported me. I had just had a baby 6 weeks previous, so wow. Let me say it was the last thing I wanted to do. But I thought it was important to just get the message out there, and Gloria Allred, you know, of course, agreed. And again, I don't think she even realized, although who knows, that's up for debate these days, but you know, I don't know who realized how many women he had affected. I mean, at this juncture, it's like in the 300s. When it comes to rape, it's over 80. So, I mean, it's a lot of women. And again, as we spoke about, it's 30 years in the making of just really the torment that he's brought upon so many women.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked to read about, you know, like 3 decades basically, and all of these cases. I mean, like he not only was he waiting for people on his bathrobe, you know, and have them massage him or ask him to be massaged naked, shower with him. I mean, it was for real, and forcing himself to their rooms and raping them. I mean, and I mean, on the outside, he obviously was this golden mogul producer who won 6 Academy Awards, you know, movies that have made history. I mean, like Pulp Fiction, who doesn't know that movie? Right. It's completely, you know, an icon. And to know that, you know, that was on the outside, and what he actually, the power he had behind, and what gave him probably this kind of a sick right to believe that he can conquer whatever he wanted and push and force himself into everything, because the power that he had just kind of got out of control. And obviously he's a narcissist, he's sick, and he's a mess. I mean, and what you're saying, you know, his declarations really were condescending. I mean, first of all, making fun of people, saying, you know, we'll buy the story. And in truly, you know, his movie Sex, Lies, and Videotape actually probably were a biography inspired, you know, by himself.
Exactly.
And very ironically that, you know, sometimes we give so much power to people, so much, you know, that we admire people. We just kind of like, in any industry, not just in the film industry, you know, anywhere in the world, we sometimes just have people on the pedestal thinking that they have all the power over everybody. And the truth is, at some point, they do have the power. These men could make you or break you.
And they did.
Time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they did make and break a lot of lives. As far as, you know, look, when I met him through a good friend of mine who is a very well known. So there was no reason for me to assume that he was a rapist. You know, I had heard that he had slept with women, but I thought it was consensual because I had heard that women did this too, you know. So that therein lies part of the problem, right? So when he asked to meet me for me to pitch my script, you know, I told him, I will meet with you as long as you won't touch me, just simply to clarify I was there only for work, you know. So when his lawyer, even in this last case, is saying all these women who went to his room knew it was going to happen, it's such an... Honestly, it's a hurtful comment because, you know, as a businesswoman, you're telling me I shouldn't go take a meeting with somebody. It's just so rude. And in the movie industry at Sundance, they would turn hotel rooms into offices. I mean, they even do this for economic majors. I have a friend who's at UCLA, and she was saying, like, look, this is our norm too. Right. You know, they turn those rooms and they have interviews and they decide who's going to come, you know, work at the company. So, you know, it's not even just in the entertainment world. So, look, I was, of course, elated to pitch my script to him. I mean, I had worked in the business at that time for 20 years. I had obviously been accosted and harassed by other people, which, you know, is another Oprah and, you know, the next phase, I'm sure. But you know, the reason he was so important to me and why I got out of the business is because previous I was only doing acting and singing in particular, and I worked predominantly on comedy shows and I did big commercials and I was sustaining myself with that, so I loved it, but I was constantly harassed in that world. So I thought, if I become a writer, if I create the product and I'm giving him the product, that he will have a harder time not responding to that, and that he'll see me as a professional, not as somebody who just needs him for this acting gig. But what I realized is it doesn't really matter. Like, it didn't matter how I reinvented myself. I could have gone in there and, look, he raped a woman who worked in the tech world, whom I know well now. And honestly, she's suffering from major cancer right now. So my point is like, he really was an equal opportunity employer as far as who he attacked. And that's why he was so insidious. And because he would literally almost do it, almost every day. I mean, the cases here in Los Angeles that he's getting tried on are 2 rapes back to back within 2 days, and he entered their room because what people don't understand is he would get the key because his last name's Weinstein. It was bought by the Weinstein company, but even though you're a famous actress, he should not be allowed into your room. But this is back in the day. We're like, oh, of course we're going to give you the key. I don't know that people were understanding how heinous it was, and what he was doing. And look, the truth of the matter is he would never have gotten as far as he got if he weren't supported by those around him. And I think that has been the most challenging thing for me. I mean, I knew my own story, but I was not raped, thank God. I got out of there. I'm lucky now. I didn't realize I was lucky at the time, but now I surely know I was lucky. And I pivoted and made sure I got out of there without being, harmed physically, if you will. But of course, mentally, it was very harmful because it really was the apex for me. And I was like, that's it. I just can't do this anymore. I mean, I can't be treated this way daily. Or I have to embrace that this is what the norm is. Like, I'm gonna have to sleep with these people. I'm going to have to do what they asked me to do in order to have a career in this. And it wasn't part of my DNA. My parents, God bless them, raised me to not act that way and not behave that way. So I didn't do it. But let me tell you, I knew that was it. I knew you just can't get taken seriously. Yeah. So that's why I honestly stepped up, and I stepped up in a different way, which was also to be the lead plaintiff in the class action. Mm-hmm. The reason that's important to me is because you have now, and I knew this even 2 years ago, there's all of these women, right? And there was nothing that we could do. We could not do a criminal case, and people had NDAs. There was a melange of challenges just even 2 years ago that maybe aren't the same that we even have today. But the thing that I could do, because power and money are so tightly aligned, right, is I thought, let me go after the money and these women deserve something. I mean, myself included, but when you're in a class action, it is not just about me. Absolutely not just about me. And to be quite frank, I was one of 3 people who were left in the case. So I could have personally just gone after him, but it was really important to me to join forces with the other women and go after him as a group, because I don't think I deserve necessarily something different than other people deserve. I mean, obviously, the monies will be paid out based on what happened to each woman. But the point is I didn't think I should just go and do my own case and that I get my own money and, forget about everybody else. That just didn't feel right to me. So that's why the class action is so important. So everybody, as of right now, we're really at the tippy end of sealing the deal and signing the paperwork, where anybody who has been harassed or raped, God forbid, by him can come forward, and there's going to be a special master to decide, number one, if they're telling the truth, but number two, that they will get paid based on what happened to them. And I think, at least it allows these women to take just something back, just
Absolutely.
something.
And I think, it's not just about what happened, because obviously that has created a lot of emotional distress and probably, even some physical and psychological damage that it will heal and take time. It will take time to heal over time. So for sure they deserve some monetary, compensation for it. But I think the most important, and I believe, for you, as well as we have had this conversation before, it is to make the industry change.
Absolutely.
We have gotten this far in the sense that finally people like George Clooney and Matt Damon say it is the time to to hear women. I mean, like before, to believe women. They actually, I'm quoting them. They say it's a time to believe women, because before they didn't believe women. I mean, we come from years of getting there to equality, and even though it's 2020, we're still not equal completely on the work environment, and many other things. But at the same time, this movement is just to prove that our physical appearance, or because men feel that we should perform in certain way, because they still portray us as the wives that's supposed to be at home, of the third or fifth lover that you're supposed to have, and they don't take us as serious, and it all supposed to come with sexual favors. And I think that the importance of this movement is to change the industry, and it's like, you're talented, you qualify, then you get the job. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you're going to do behind the doors.
Right, absolutely.
Whereas before, it didn't matter.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, I studied so hard, and as you know, I work in this business with you now. I mean, I'm a hard worker. I mean, again, thanks to my parents. I mean, that's how they raised me. And so, I mean, that's the thing. And it was insidious, because as good as I got, then to be asked to do something sexual, or else I would not get it, and I quote, or I fired you because that girl would do what you wouldn't do. I mean, how do I take that? Because then I realized, my God, there's no way to win this without doing something.
Right.
I mean, I'm literally fired off of shows because I wouldn't do things. And we're not talking about little parts here. I mean, I was at a place in my career where, I mean, I was doing very well, but I could never make it to that next level because I wouldn't perform as they wanted me to, and I would get literally fired, or I wasn't called in again, or so there's a lot of that's the nastiness of the business that it was hard for me to recommend it to anybody after a while, because it was like, well, I don't know. I mean, unless you want to do the quid pro quo, then I don't know what's going to happen to you, But I think too, it's the power dynamic, right? And that is in every business, quite frankly, the power dynamic. And it's, if you feel like you're entitled to treat me the way you want, just as horrible and heinous, and I'm not talking about working hard, because I understand, I have done my fair share of hard working and, not been paid or whatever it is to rise, my star up to the top, whatever career it was. But I think it's more about just, it was this disrespect that used to be very accepted. I mean, and you see it even, like, as somebody was reminding me too, is like even the rom-coms of like 2008. 2008 is when my experience happened with Harvey. But you look at that and it's like, oh my God. I mean, I remember seeing Knocked Up, the movie, and I had a hard time watching that movie even then, but I just had gone back to look at some of the stuff on it, and it's hard to take. Or even Pretty Woman, for God's sakes, we're saying, hey, rock on, you're selling your body for money, but hey, you met a rich guy. I mean, come on. So I'm just simply hoping too that, also that we do acknowledge how these predators, because he's a predator.
Yeah,
I mean, Harvey is a serial predator. And I also want to be very clear, so I'm working on helping change some laws, because I've learned that really that's the way we have to go. Because even in my federal case, it was, some of the things that were said from even the judge was very challenging for me. But the point is that, we have to change these laws, but the stat came out that 4% of the predators are creating 91% of the problem. So that right there is the key to me, because I by no means dislike men. I love men. I love my husband. I love my kids. I love my dad. I don't have a problem with men. This is not a female male situation, right?
Right.
We're talking, if we could just, let's say, tackle the 4% of predators, whether that's a man or a woman, but the 4%, if you have repeated incidences where you have harmed people, and we can track that, I mean, by God, my God, that's the people to go after. Because then if we can eradicate 91% of the problem, I mean, I'd be pretty happy with that stat if we could sit there, you know. And he's clearly one of them. I mean, Harvey is clearly one of them. You know, we got 300 women he's harassed, to, you know, 80 plus rapes. I mean, my God, please.
And for 30 years, I mean, and obviously every personal assistant he had, he also, you know, they seem to be claims, not every, but many of them. He settled cases with some of them. He pay off, you know, so they wouldn't come into light. So obviously it's been an ongoing thing. And that is because he felt and abused the power. And like Harvey, we have so many examples. I mean, the president itself. I mean, come on, when we quote him and he said, just grab that. Like, what is the message you're showing? You know, like, are we objects? You know, it's just like because you're a woman and you have, you know, some parts that are desirable, then you are just there to be grabbed, to be offered, you know, to be insinuated. I mean, why don't we do the same with men? I mean, I'm sure there are some women that are also predators, no question.
Right.
And they also abuse power, but for sure it's minority. I mean, like, you don't hear as many cases, and you know, so it's just something that has to change, something that has to give. And I'm so glad and so proud that you are, you know, stepping forward. And I'm sure it must have been no easy, you know. I'm sure that there was a lot of questions, especially you said you are married now, you had just had a baby, and to come and deal with all of this emotional distress, because it's not over. I mean, still after 2 years of all these allegations, they had just, you know, declared him guilty for 2. They're gonna give sentence on March 11, which I'm sure you're very anxiously waiting to hear what's going to be the end result. But before we go to that, I just want to, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about the incident. We talked very much about the broad aspect of it, like his personality and our overall opinion on the case. But you tell us a little bit about what happened in 2008.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's like literally maybe 700 pages on this now, so I won't go to, because to be honest, to talk about it always, like, it's like scratching at a scab to talk about it too much. But I mean, in a nutshell, I was there to pitch a script. At Sundance, they close the restaurants early because it's a Mormon-run state, and so I had just gotten there ready to pitch, and you know, we sat down, and then, like, you know, not long after, they're saying, "Sorry, you got to go," and so here I am at this like apex moment where I'm like getting to pitch my script to the guy who created pulp, you know, fiction, for God's sakes. And you're right. I mean, I was elated to have that opportunity, and then to be told, like, "Sorry, we're going to close." And he said to me, you know, "Let's reconvene in my office." But you know, again, I had been in the business for long enough to know, I just wanted to be abundantly clear that I was there to pitch my script. So I said, you know, "I will go up there if you will shake my hand that you won't touch me." And there was like one of those cameras in the hallway, and I said, "You're on camera shaking my hand, so it got you on camera." And he kind of laughed. I think he was shocked at my response. And you know, but at that point I was like, you know what? I just want to be clear, my friend. You know, I am not going up there to be with you. And so really the conversation was great initially. You know, I mean, he's an incredibly smart and charismatic man. I mean, you know, and this whole thing that, you know, he goes after women, I think partly who don't want to be with him, because therein lies like the chase and the power struggle, right? Because even on the table when we were sitting and having our meeting, there was a picture of a woman there, a beautiful blonde woman, and I remember it was a black and white picture because people didn't use those that much anymore. But we were at Sundance, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this girl gave me her headshot, and she said, you know, she'll do whatever I want." And I was like, "Okay, you know, good for you, buddy. I mean, why the hell are you telling me that?" But that is exactly the point. Is like, he could have been with a lot of women who were just like literally okay with it, and then, but yet he chose the women who didn't. And I mean, it's fascinating now because I'm in this group of women who he has either harassed or raped, and I'm telling you, they are fierce. They are no joke. They're strong. They're smart. So it's interesting because in some ways he went after women who, like, inevitably I think we would have rose, you know, and that's probably why he was attracted to us in some weird way. But, you know, yes, he did the iconic move now, which I didn't know was iconic at the time. But, you know, he excused himself to go to the bathroom after, you know, during my pitch, and I didn't think much of it, you know.
Right.
And he comes back naked in nothing but a robe. You know, asked me to take care of him. You know, I don't know where this is going, so I don't know what verbiage I can use, but, you know, to masturbate him basically. And I kept saying, this is so ridiculous, but he grabbed my arm. He was very forceful. And, you know, when you're in that situation, you're quickly thinking like, oh my God, did he stick something in my drink? You know, you're playing the math in your head, like, how long do I have? Can I get out of here? And so you're heightened, but then also I didn't want to make him mad, right? Because he is. I mean, look, I was a strong girl, and I still am. But I mean, you know, he's a big guy,
right?
And I thought, my God, and I didn't know. I don't know. Does he have a gun? I don't know what the heck this guy has, right? He's this, you know, because his personality vastly changed, and you can really hear it on that. I don't know if you remember the Ambra. The tape where you hear him talking to her, and you can hear his voice just escalate. Come on. No, don't do this to me. Don't be stupid. And that's all the same stuff that he then did to me. But eventually I was able to get out. He did say I could, you know, have a 3-picture deal. He'd make my movie, Don't Be Stupid. He grabbed to kiss me, but when I went to the door, it opened and I got the hell out.